Hi, Neil again. Today I'm actually in the Cumbria, getting towards Cumbria, Appleby in Westmoreland. So I'm doing a survey on a beautiful little cottage in a small village just up from Appleby. And basically they've had a survey carried out and it has been noted that there's evidence of damp on the internal walls. So they've asked for further investigation. So basically you can see the external. It's generally in pretty good condition, very typical for this type of this area for this type of construction. 18-inch walls, coarse stone. But when you come inside, it's one of the things that was mentioned was that there appears to be a rising damp effect in the front main elevation. Well, actually, some of the elevations. I'm going to see if I can knock my light on here. What we've got, look at the window reveals. We've got this damp staining. Going down the window reveals, we've got a bit of efflorescent salt there. Obviously below the paint, we've got exactly the same on this window reveal. There you are. You've got a bit of efflorescence, but it's obviously been painted with a matte emulsion or some kind of paint. Probably a decent job. You can see a bit of rainwater, a bit of damp above the window. You've got the same thing happening on the walls. Damp staining on the door reveal, and so on. Now what we've also got is damp staining at the base of the walls, but that's pretty typical. Obviously rainwater gets through the walls, gravity's taking it to ground, so they generally dry out from the upper levels down over in exactly the same pattern. You can see it. Now it was commented that the majority of the damp appears to be due to rising damp. I mean, you've got a bit of damp in the corner there. Coming down, we can see it. Solid floors. But one of the things it said evidence of rising damp was noted on a lot of the partition walls. But what you've got is, you can see it's been plastered down to the solid floor. Now it's highly unlikely this floor has a membrane. They've obviously tiled over the top of the original. The lady who was a key holder let me in and she gave me a brief history of the property and said it was pretty much as it was since the time the cottage was converted. And they did some remedial work, or some work, refurbishment work, which involved tiling the floor, but they didn't actually replace the floor. Come into the dining room, we've got exactly the same. We've got damp staining, but what we've got on the ceiling, as you can see, the damp staining coming back around about 350-400 mil from the front main elevation, and then the same again on here. Now it's just that what I was surprised about on there wasn't picked up. There's a lot of efflorescent salt on the wall there. I'll not push it too hard because I don't want to damage the paintwork. And then obviously the same again at the base of the wall. So what we've got is a combination of rainwater penetration and wall plaster bridging the wall floor junction, as you can see. So the giveaway, when you go around and you see this damp staining, in quite a few areas, especially window reveals, coming across onto the window head. You can see it there. Again, I'll not pull the paint off, but you can see where it's starting to flake. You can see it's discoloured. Now the giveaway is, check the orientation of the elevation. This is a southwesterly facing elevation. We're at the top of a hill, so it's a really exposed location. I know we've got some trees here, which you think would give some degree of protection, but the trees aren't that, size-wise, they're not that great. But what you've got is this, it's a southwesterly facing elevation. So the prevailing wind-driven rain in the UK, southwesterly direction. So over a period of decades, this is typical of what you would expect to see. And it's just, it's a strange one that it was referred to as, the majority of the damp appears to be due to rising damp, although some rainwater penetration is present. Now, the way I would look at it is that the majority of the damp is rainwater penetration because of this solid walls and the southwesterly facing elevations. It's actually the same on the first floor level. When you get up there, it's exactly the same thing. We've got sporadic damp patches appearing. It's been dot and dabbed. Then they've obviously dabbed straight onto the wall. But I just think it's one of these for the less experienced surveyors. When you see this, I was surprised this wasn't picked up. You've got this timber built into the front main elevation. You can see the damp staining on the ceiling, and it is damp. I've tested it Fortunately, the joists are running from left to right, so they're running from gable end to party wall. So the joists aren't built into this front main elevation, but that timber is, which is actually an additional brace for the floor timbers. Check the moisture content. The moisture content's 26% on that timber, so that timber is at risk of fungal decay. So I will recommend that you do something with that, isolate that timber from the masonry. And then I would recommend that the ceiling is trimmed back from contact with the front main elevation, and then filled with a waterproof, a physical barrier in between the ceiling and the actual external wall, and then fill it with a waterproof filler just to stop any water migrating across onto the ceiling, because that's what you can see the end result is. We've got this, you can see it there, you can hear it. You've just got a bit of efflorescent salt behind the paint finish. So that's it. It's just, I mean, I'm sure lots of the more experienced surveyors will see this and think, well, we would have known that already. But for the less experienced, it's really what it hits home is that it's establishing orientation of the property and understanding the defects you're going to get in those locations. There's your efflorescent salt. Understand the defects you're going to get on locations, north, east, south and west, because we do find typically the same defects maybe apparent. But it just, rather than, obviously in this instance, it was the source of the damp appears to be largely due to rising damp, although some rainwater penetration was noted. I would have said that this is all rainwater penetration. May well be some rising damp, but you're never going to know until you get the issues with rainwater penetration. Now, one of the questions to ask is, what do you actually do with it? This is a very, very old cottage. It's pretty much it's probably as it's stood for an awful long time. Do we panic and start pulling the place apart, or do we just accept it as it is, use an appropriate paint finish or coating, brush it down, remove all the friable material, and then use a specialist paint, which obviously caters for the fact that it's going to be subject to rainwater penetration. It's a question that you have to ask yourself. What do you recommend to your clients? Personally, I wouldn't recommend hacking everything off here. But what I'll do is I'll have a chat with the clients. We'll have and I'll find out what their expectations are, what they think about it, and then if they decide they wanted any remedial work, we'll look at the best solutions. But if I was buying this, then to be honest, when I saw it this morning, I found out the price. If I'd seen it beforehand, I would have been interested in buying it as a holiday home, potential retirement home. And I would have moved into this and I wouldn't have gotten concerned at all. I would have just lived as it is. But some people, it's managing their expectations. It's what's their view of damp, or how do they regard damp. And then obviously as a surveyor, that's our job to advise them, give them the options, and then let them make their own mind up. I hope this has helped. Anyway, for the less experienced surveyors, it just gives you an indication when you're getting these elevated moisture meter readings, obviously on virtually all areas. And then, you look at this, you see the damp stain on the ceiling. It's a really good indication that you've got rainwater penetrating the building fabric. And obviously checked it with a compass, and it is southwest facing. Okay, I hope this helps. Thanks a lot now. Bye-bye.